We have two guests in the audience today. We have Pam Crozier, who is on the county council, and we have Bobby Little, one of our county commissioners. So welcome to the Madison.
Welcome to you guys. Thank you.
Welcome to Madison Redevelopment Commission. At this time, Mr. Hobbs.
Good. Approval for minutes from the October 3rd meeting. Everybody had a chance to review? Any questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I did.
Second.
All those in favor? Next, claims. We have claims totaling $659,700.59. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Bond request number 22, pay application number 3.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes, on that, I wanted to let everyone know that the pump station will have its final inspection tomorrow. It is operational, and we'll have a retainage request coming at the next meeting on that. But that is complete, and we're excited to have that operational.
And then bond request number 23, transfer Sunrise Crossing.
Yeah, so the Board of Works on Monday approved acceptance of that roadway, and as a part of the EDA that we have agreed to, we're paying for the construction of that as a part of the EDA. We are withholding $50,000 back for some punch list items that are currently being worked on. Probably 3/4 of that list is done. There's still a few items left to be completed here in the next 30 days or so.
And the ARPA Bethany Legacy Fund.
Yeah, so we have now spent, as a part of this payment, the $1 million of our American Rescue Plan that was set aside for Crystal Beach, and we're currently going to be now spending the Bethany Fund dollars that we received, and then ultimately we'll be spending our bond dollars last as a part of that funding strategy. So,
Questions or comments on that? Financial report, Reedy Financial.
Good afternoon. Got a couple items for you today. I'll start off in the financial plan. If you go to page 4 on there, the RDC overview, a couple reminders. The North Madison allocation area does have an expiration year of 2035. And we're also working on a projection of the entire TIF life of that up until 2035. And hopefully going to have that available for you guys to see a good picture of the entire TIF plan for the rest of the life of this allocation area. And then besides that, going through your cash balances, November at 967, 416.
hey, Cole, real quick, just as it relates to the allocation areas, just as a reminder, we did approve a riverfront allocation area back in the early summer, late spring, early summer. That doesn't appear on here because it just took effect, so that'll appear on our, starting in January, that'll start to appear on all our reports.
We have riverfront added in the financial plan at the bottom of the RDC overview.
On the RDC, but not on the allocation area report.
So yes, you will be seeing that. And then as well, on the page 7, in 2024 projections, we are scheduling to do a Series B bond in early part of 24, as a reminder as well. And then I think Tony wanted to talk a little bit about cash balance as well.
Yeah, so the cash balance that is shown in here is the year-end balance that we projected as a part of the plan at the beginning of the year. As a part of where we think we're going to end up, as we were just discussing, we think we'll end up in that $1 million to $1.3 million year-end balance. It'll be higher than what's being projected, and usually that's the case. Project timing, revenue that's coming in from our second tax payment, and those sorts of things. So we should be in that $1 million year-end balance.
And then other than that, that's all I have for the financial plan, unless you guys have any questions about any numbers on there.
You said in January we're expecting the bond?
We have, as a part of our process with the Michigan Road project, there was discussion of a Series B bond as a part of that. That is still an option as long as we do that before the 10-year window of the expiration of the TIF district. So as I mentioned before, as we look to Ready 2.0, or as we look towards the housing strategy for 2024, those dollars may become part of that strategy, and we'll look to you maybe mid-second quarter to look at that as an option for funding those projects.
Okay, so timing second quarter.
Timing second quarter.
Yeah, the key thing behind that is having a plan together, you know, not just levering up the TIF district, which is going to be really important because we're going to get to this window where we're no longer going to be able to apply any leverage in the TIF district because of its expiration date from a bondholder perspective. So over the next few months, we are going to be working on the plan of what we would do with those funds and how we can leverage those dollars to create exponentially more investment across the community like we have with the ready dollars and the RDC dollars already. But we're going to have to, you know, essentially reload the Redevelopment Commission's liquidity in order to provide for the matching funds or co-investment it's going to take to create some significant investment across the city. We talked about that before, and that's just part of the strategy with having our largest income producing allocation area in our TIF zone expiring in 2035. There's also, and I was going to give this update later too, but I'll tell you this, but there's also a lot of work that needs to be done legislatively because you have all these TIF districts across the state, which is predominantly the only economic development tools that communities have that have a cliff event rushing right toward them. And right now there's no fix for it. And when that date hits, that 2035 hits, and it's different for other communities, when that date hits, all those revenues get redispersed out to the local government entities. And then the source that we all use for economic development goes away. Something's going to be done, I'm sure, something else going to be created, or there's going to be some legislative fix to essentially take the expiration dates away. I think that's what has to happen, but there's a lot of work to be done, and it hasn't been talked about a whole lot yet. But that's why we're not taking any chances on that. We're going to, you know, be extracting as much value as possible out of the main North Madison allocation area so we can do a lot more investment with it.
Any other questions or comments in regard to the financial report? Thank you.
And I have one more item for you guys today. In front of you is the TIF impact presentation. To go through this with you guys real quick, on the first slide, you'll see a list there of all the reporting requirements. We've checked all of them off so far, and we will check off that last one here today, doing this TIF impact update. And then going to page 2, just as a quick refresher of some definitions right there for you. When we make an economic development area, this is an area with a plan to increase things like employment opportunities, attract new business, or retain or expand business, just plans for economic development. And then when we're talking about all of our allocation areas, these are those sub areas that we have within the economic development area in which are subject to TIF, which then, of course, is what we use to capture assessed value. And then just going over to page 3, little look inside of the RDC and its incremental AVs for each area so far. I also will say that in 2024, those ones with 0 captured AV, in 24 you will start to see AVs in those areas. And then as well, you will have the riverfront area in there as well. And then going on to slide 4. Just a little refresher of just how TIF is working, starting with base AV, which goes to each of the overlapping units. This is established at the existing AV at the time the TIF is established, and then that incremental AV that we capture from either new construction, abatements rolling off, new appeals, that all goes to the RDC, of course, to pay for projects. And then, once debt is issued, that 25-year TIF clock is started. And then, of course, when that is over, as Mayor stated just a little earlier, all of the AV now goes to the overlapping units. And then next slide, just looking at your financial position for the North Madison area. That is once again, a completely projected year-end balance right there. And we are assuming that there's gonna be a lot more than that at the end of the year for actual numbers.
Yeah, that's where we currently are projecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.13, 1.10 to 1.3, based upon where we think expenses will be over the next month and what, we haven't received our tax revenue draw for the second half of the year. Maybe much higher. Be conservative.
And then flipping over, this is just a look at your guys' current and future plans that you guys have, different projects in the works, some for the future, some you're working on right now. Feel free to look through those. But then to finally get into the TIF impact, in order to help kind of quantify the TIF's impact to the overlapping units, we kind of have to ask ourselves, would property taxes collected today remain the same if the city had never utilized TIF and that all current projects that were made possible because of TIF still happened if there was no TIF? And so then flipping over to the TIF impact chart that you'll see, I want to direct you guys first to the percentage of total impact for each of those overlapping units, as well as the far right column, the impact as a percent of your budget. And then looking down at those bottom three numbers in the dark blue boxes, you'll see the total impact, your total revenue collections, and then under that, you will see the additional revenue that happened because of TIF and the RDC. And then you'll see what we call a TIF margin of 0.47, and I'll explain that in a little more detail on the next slide. So your TIF margin of 0.47 is stated in terms of additional money that the RDC collected per every dollar of total revenue that was collected. And you'll see that you collected in total 1.765 roughly in TIF revenues across the areas, of which 832,000 roughly was collected due to the utilization of TIF. And then under that, you'll see that only 933,000 would have been shared across overlapping units should there not have been TIF. So essentially, for every dollar collected by the RDC, 47 cents of that was additional revenue due to having TIF and the RDC.
And I would also say too about additional revenue, that doesn't include local income tax that's received because of potential job creation or additional other taxes associated with the investments that the RDC has made on behalf of the community.
Were those matching funds?
The 0.47? No, that was the amount of money we collected because the TIF existed and that we invested dollars. If we had not, we wouldn't have received.
Think about it as that the first one, that slide where it's talking about the base AV. That's the beginning point of the assessed value for all the parcels that's in the TIF district. All overlapping units of government share their normal tax collection on the base AV. We take money through the Redevelopment Commission and we invest it in the TIF district and Shops at Sunrise Crossing, perfect example. That had actually, had a devaluation in it because the buildings were torn down, so the property became worth less and less and less and less. We invest in that, now the AV starts increasing there. That's still generating the tax for all of the overlapping units for the base, but now it's generating even more revenue because we made that investment. So one of the things we talk about a lot is the leveraging. City of Madison through redevelopment puts $5 million in that development, and that goes for infrastructure, stormwater management, roads, site type things. And then another investor or developer comes in and they build $50 million worth of property on that site. And now we collect the revenues off of the increased AV. And then we keep plowing that back. So really what it's saying is for every dollar we're putting in, we're really getting $1.47 back, is really the way I look at that. And that's a fantastic return, and that's doing exactly what TIF districts are designed to do, which is improve property values and all types of other public purpose objectives that we have. Which is also reemphasizing how great a job this redevelopment commission has done, how important it is to the city, and how important TIF districts are to every community across the state.
And if you remember correctly on the return on
If I
investment.
misspoke, clarify anything there, Cole? Yeah.
If you remember when we did the bonds at Sunrise Crossing, we did an analysis on payback based upon only the main buildings having their tax revenue, and it was about 12 years, right? And what I was saying earlier is the taxes that we create are just property taxes, not the other impacts that we have within the community, right? So the local income tax, local option income tax is now being created by 200 new people working in the community and those sorts of things. So there's additional taxes and revenue that the community, all taxing units, will ultimately start to feel some impact on.
It's working really well. And there are some investments that the redevelopment commission makes in structures that
don't
may
have
not produce that level of return. It's getting absorbed in all that, and I'm assuming with are tax abatements included in these numbers? Or
Yeah.
is it just,
Yes.
so, because
Abatements
some of the investments the redevelopments made also was partnered with the tax abatement. So unlike shops doesn't have a tax abatement on it. So as those buildings get assessed and placed in service, we're gonna start collecting tax revenue off of those buildings that's gonna stay with us.
100%.
100% of that. Another example would maybe be another property, if we do a tax abatement, that's that's on a 10-year scale, so there will be years where we've got a lot of money out and no tax revenue being generated, and the basic payback period's a lot longer. So we're doing everything we can to maximize the amount of investments, create a multiplier effect with private capital attraction, and generate revenue that refunds and creates another source for us to invest through the redevelopment commission.
Absolutely.
Is there state data that, as far as how we compare to other communities or state
Question,
average?
I don't know, it's a good question.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
we should ask. Yeah.
On that margin,
The TIF margin is something we've kind of coined. We'd be happy to.
yeah, I'd be interested
share
to see
with you guys
what your other
into that.
communities have, or what their margins are, just to sort of get a sense of that.
Absolutely. But yes, thanks to the RDC's utilization of TIF, this margin does a great job of showing how important it is. And the TIF is able to do this because it's not constrained by the state's property tax levy growth like the overlapping units are. But that is the TIF impact. If there are any other questions.
Is this an annual requirement for our TIF district? Okay.
Yep.
Sure, we're checking that out.
This is the last requirement, the state requires us to present. And these were all notified to the other taxing, overlapping taxing units.
So I think, one of the purposes here, I think as well, is to dispel the myth that TIF districts take revenue away from schools and other taxing districts. You might want to elaborate on that, but that's also kind of really not, it's not. We're not taking money away because everybody's sharing in that base AV. What we're keeping is the additional incremental AV that we're creating. At some point in time, if the RDC wasn't here, again, we don't have this financial tool to incentivize that private capital attraction. That's gonna be a problem for us.
Yeah, because the reality of it is, shops at Sunrise Crossing and the residences would not exist likely, as they do now, without the leveraging and the ability to have that investment locally.
I speak to other mayors all the time, and in Lawrenceburg, there was a housing development built in there. And they used their TIF dollars and essentially invested 50% of the cost. It was over $15 million in a housing development. The $5 million that we invested at Shops at Sunrise is a phenomenal investment for us because of all the things that it's done in that corridor. But it's also attracting $50 million of private investment that's going to create tax revenue that we'll be able to earn and then redistribute through new and future impactful investments.
And part of the reason why we set that up as a separate allocation area is that window doesn't start till we haven't, that window
Put
for
any
that
debt on
tax
it yet.
revenue will start when we put debt on it, so.
And we have the downtown riverfront district now too, because we expect more investment here that the redevelopment commission will be investing TIF dollars in. And it hasn't started yet either because there's no debt on it, but,
So that's been some of our strategy to continue to have some.
it's
of
a
that
real
leverage.
technical thing that you have to manage. If you don't manage it, you'll end up not exploiting its potential. And I know Commissioner Little and County Councilman Crozier is here. They may be, I think, also talking about county TIF. They see how well it works here in Madison, so I think you guys have talked a little bit about creating a county TIF zone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, old business.
In front of you today is change order number 2, the final change order for the Michigan Road Pump Station. That in essence is some mitigation dollars being used for screening of a couple of the property owners there on the adjoining property owners. If you remember correctly, we moved that pump station as a part of some value engineering and some recalculations late in the process. And when we did that, those owners lost their buffer that we had sort of indicated they would have. So we've invested a little bit of landscaping there to help try to camouflage some of that pump station as well as the back of Coles, just like we did on the other side of the retention pond. So that's the change order I would ask for approval of today. Yeah, I wanted to touch base on that. You'll see I would ask you to move up the deductive change order number 1 for the parking lot, the HMI lot site improvements. As you know, that project came in over budget fairly substantially. I'm pleased to say that we worked diligently over the last 30 days and have developed a $470,000 deductive change order to get that project more in line with appropriate dollars that we have. With the dollars that were set aside in the original budget, we still are short about $175,000 for that project to be able to move forward. I believe that we will have somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $225,000 left in the funds for the Shops at Sunrise Crossing, and I would ask the commission today to approve deductive change order number 1 and allocate an additional $175,000 for that project.
Tell me, where's that 175 come from? Is it coming from the redevelopment commission?
It's already, we had
Budget or-
we had allocated additional dollars for the Shops at Sunrise Crossing that we will not,
Outside of
the bond issue,
Outside of
yes.
the bond issue.
When those projects
Okay.
came in over budget, we were able to save money through some VE during those projects. We changed a system on the traffic light, which reduced about $75,000 in conduit needs. We had additional dollars in our pump station bid that we didn't hit rock like we thought we would, so there was additional savings as a part of that was already built into the base bid. So through that, we think we'll have roughly $200,000 to $225,000 of savings in that project, ultimately on what you've already approved, which we can allocate back towards this project. Also believe we'll have some additional savings too in some of the ready dollars that you had previously approved that we didn't ultimately need in the contingency fund. It's about $20,000, so I feel confident we can transfer those funds without impacting any future needs.
There aren't any issues as far as allocating
Well, the project's in the plan. You had allocated $350,000 towards that project as a part of the plan, so I'm asking for an additional 175 to be allocated towards that project. And approve the deductive change order.
Have you seen the, I don't know if you've had an opportunity yet, Commission, to see we have it posted down there on the river, but I think it's already also been here through one of
Yes.
Tony's quarterly updates. What transformation is going to occur at that HMI lot on Poplar and also the Bicentennial Park parking lot. It's gonna be phenomenal. And we're also incorporating the, memorial for the George E. Baptiste, bust and, Underground Railroad there. It's gonna be, and building a Costigan overlook. It's gonna be very nice.
Any other comments on the deductive change order request?
Yeah, under new business, you'll see a deductive change order number 1 for the DG Market and Mulberry Street District improvements. As a part of that project, which you had previously approved at the $500,000 level, there was some savings that we can realize, although they won't be a net savings because the city will have to purchase some items, the solar lighting directly. We think there's it will be less than $500,000 invested in that project. So the good news is this is a deductive change order for the DG Market Mulberry Street to take out some dollars there as well. I would expect another change order on a deductive side to be coming too shortly. Motion to approve that change order, yes, please. So the last meeting you gave, the mayor authorized him to sign the contracts. If the projects became within budget, this will give him the ability to sign those and they can get started right away on both those. So thank you. We just talked through that. That was I moved that there. I have no other updates except for I did share with you some information about Sunrise Crossing. We've been tracking that placer data. Emily did a nice job with noting when each store opened, so you could see that since July. In basic terms, there's been about 226,000 people visit that site. That's about 85,000 unique visitors. So the way the software works is you go there once and you go back again and you go back again. You're counted 3 times, but only counted once as a unique visitor. So there's been 84,000 unique visitors, averaging about 2.7 visits since July to Sunrise Crossing. So the good news is we can tell from this report in here that their pass, we can track where they came from prior to being at that point, and we can track where they're going after they leave the shops. And we can see that they're going to other retailers within the community, and or coming from other retailers in the community. So the good news is we know that we're attracting new regional visitors for our retail, and our Destination Madison plan is working. You can see those visitors coming from as far away as Greensburg, and all the way south to I-71, even from Crestwood and LaGrange. Batesville, we have a number from Batesville, a number from Scottsburg, a number from North Vernon, driving into Madison. So really that southeastern regional corner of the state now, we're becoming a regional retail center.
I just want to kind of punctuate what Tony's saying about the unique visitors. I think that's interesting. For me, the big number, the big reveal is the fact there's been 225,000 visits to the shops at Sunrise over that 4-month period as we have incrementally opened up each shop. Starting, with Five Below and then now with Kohl's last week, all 4 are open. It'll be very interesting to see how those numbers of visits start tracking now, since you've got the density of all 4 shops. Rather than just one at a time, I would expect that the velocity of visits is going to increase. but 225,000 visits in a 4-month period is, I think, pretty phenomenal. That data is also going to allow us to continue to work with the developer and other developers on new investment in that corridor because of being able to properly share with them the data. And we're always pitching Madison. We're always selling our community. That capital is going to come where the best return on investment can be found. And that could be in Madison, or it could be, Indianapolis, or anywhere, right? We want it to be in Madison, and the best way to do that is have the data that documents the fact that, there are 250,000 people coming here, literally every quarter, and that's gonna bode well for us in getting a nice sit-down restaurant up there too. That's all the, kind of the mad science behind it.
Yeah, we're excited about the holiday season coming up here and seeing the type of data we hope to collect. Would also mention too about that, if you have not seen or saw on Facebook, Dale Rogers was in town this week. Birdman, which the developers paid for, is installed on Sunrise Crossing Boulevard. So feel free to go up there and see that during the day and at night. It's lit. I would also let you know that the city street department is working hard to get holiday decorations along Michigan Road, and the contractors are working this week and starting to finish the welcome Madison sign, and we'll get the flags on the flagpoles here in the next couple of weeks as well. So.
Not a whole lot to update other than the great conversation we had across the time of the meeting. We just continue to work on economic development strategies and how we can better utilize or continue to impactfully utilize the Redevelopment Commission resources for that. It's working. Our plan is working. Destination Madison, I think, has been a very good plan. Ready 2.0 is going to be essentially Destination Madison 2.0, because there was about a dozen projects in there that we started pursuing execution of. We've done, I want to say, maybe 5 or 6 of them in total. There'll be more to do, but we also took the opportunity to add some other phenomenal projects across the city and Jefferson County. Our transportation network needs a lot of investment, and so we've included investment at the City of Madison Municipal Airport for the new runway that's going to be, or the runway replacement that's going to happen in 2025. That's going to be a multi-million-dollar investment, and Ready 2.0 can help facilitate that because of its contribution to the economy in Madison. And then also our City of Madison Railroad is doing a phenomenal job expanding and growing its businesses. So there's opportunity for us to partner with Ready 2.0 to bring capital to the City of Madison Railroad in addition to our other destination planning. You want to elaborate on the railroad? I think that's...
I think there's an untold story here about the railroad this year. By the end of July, they had moved as many cars this year as they moved last year. So that's a really great thing. They've created about 52 jobs with 2 great partnerships. One with Road and Rail. Road and Rail wants to expand further here in our transload facility with some additional repair services, which is a great thing for us. We've also partnered with IKEC, and we're now moving fly ash from the transload facility. Yes, we're having to truck it up the hill, but it's a lot cheaper to put it on a car there and ship it out to the cement factories in the northeast as well as the southeast. So that partnership started, and we have some other, I think, exciting economic development opportunities that we'll be able to announce here in the next coming months because we have our short line railroad creating jobs and creating opportunity for existing businesses too with the now transload facility. So we've added additional dollars in there to help build out some additional rail capacity as a part of that. So that was a good investment for us on the hilltop, and we're leveraging that the best we can. And actually, in a very short time frame, we've been more successful than we anticipated. So a really good opportunity.
Other than that, we'll just keep doing our thing, and we have at the next meeting, hopefully we can do the quarterly update, and you'll see the progress on the dozen or so projects that we're simultaneously managing or completing. And I'm surprised Tony did not do cartwheels when he came in here, because we closed on the DG Market last week.
Yeah, it's sort of like,
Should have done some cartwheels.
Bob and I walked down the street and said, oh, we closed on that deal.
Yeah,
It was
it was
like
very, I mean, it was,
uneventful, but
we
it
went
was,
to the closing, it's like, it's just us.
yes.
Anyway, so we're thrilled. Thank you, Bob, as well, for the article that you did that was in the paper on,
Today?
yesterday, actually.
Yesterday,
Yeah, yesterday. What was yesterday? Man, it's a blur. So that was, there was a rendering in there, and everything is getting better and better and better as we continue to work through our plan and make things happen. And I want to thank you guys because 3 years ago, we set forth a plan to buy that building and protect it as a grocery store. And I'll tell you, of all the things we've done, that was the hardest one so far, financing wise, bringing a publicly traded national corporation to downtown Madison to make a multi-million-dollar investment in a low-margin business, by the way, that's not on the beaten path, it's not on Main Street, it's not on a highway. It took a lot of selling, and it took a lot of belief by all of us and you too that we could get there, we could make it happen, and it was the right thing to do to buy that property. And now look what's happening in that entire corridor. That investment's going to be great. We've also been able to take that investment and leverage that up with our CCMG projects, which is it's roads and streets and sidewalks and the parking lot and lighting and crosswalk safety. It's a whole. We might be talking about a grocery store. Certainly we need that, but it's blight elimination. It's improving that entire corridor and making a better experience as part of our Destination Madison plan.
And I would also say too, there's two new opportunities for, other investment that's taking place in that corridor. So there's two buildings that have been sold recently in the last 12 months. One's currently under renovation, one will be. So, our investment again is leveraging, additional private investment, which bodes well for all of us.
The Drake is expanding. The Central is expanding. We have Duck Pin Bowling and a wine bar coming in on the corner. A Cree Golf Carts is expanding. They bought a building there. That corridor is what we said a few years ago, which is a fantastic district for the city of Madison that just needs some investment. And that's attracting new investment.
So we'll see that. I also will say that the rendering that's in the paper yesterday is an updated rendering. We've been working really diligently with the developer. He's been fabulous in taking cues on design and aesthetics. And again, he's investing personally in public art for that building. So again, we're really excited.
We have a developer and investor who loves art, and so it was an easy sell
Easy
to
sell.
ask him to make this space really unique. And he went as far as to he's going to personally own this building because it's his legacy store.
So
Pretty thrilled.
yeah, it's a great, we've been very fortunate in our two big development projects to have great developers who understand the importance of quality of life and doing projects in the right manner. And Madison's been lucky with CRM out of Lexington and Rafferty development out of
And
Bowling
Winterwood is coming up. We
Winterwood
should know
is coming
in
up.
a few weeks where we stand with regard to their bond financing for the residences at Sunrise Crossing. That'll be another big win. I know that we're winding down, but we do have a couple guests here. I didn't know if they were here for a purpose to speak to the Redevelopment Commission, or you just wanted to see me. It's been less than 24 hours. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got a little bit of a feel for what we do here, which is it's about investment, focused investment, and it's about attracting capital, but also it starts with a good plan. Everything we do is part of our plan. So, happy to answer any questions now with you all or afterwards, but we have very, very, very good Redevelopment Commission, and they've been extremely supportive in helping us execute a good plan that's paying good dividends for the city. Yeah. Man, wasn't it great? And this was one of the best performance venues on the hop because the acoustics in here are great. I would just say that while we're talking about tourism, so Friday is the Christmas open house that starts this Friday. And then we'll have Light Up Madison, I believe, in November the 24th, so that's coming up very quickly. And we're kicking off the holiday season. We've already switched from, Halloween to Christmas very, very quickly. Our street department's phenomenal at getting the new decorations up, and there's new decorations up at Shops at Sunrise. You'll see that whole corridor now really come alive with the lighting and the wreaths and the planters and the flags and the new monument, Welcome to Madison monument that's up there on that northeast corner. Placemaking.